My name is Ken Schwartz, and we are going to talk about two documents that could have a very important effect upon your case. Now, very often folks may look at a foreclosure complaint and summons, which are the documents that a servicer or lender would file when a case begins. And they may say, gee, I haven't made any payments under the mortgage loan, and therefore I have no defenses. Well, I will talk about two documents in this video which could have a very deep effect upon a defense in your case. And like some other technical defenses, it has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not you've made payment, have you not made payment, whether you have performed covenants under the mortgage, and so forth. The two documents are called the Notice to Cure, or the 30-day notice, and then I'll talk about what's commonly known as the 90-day notice in New York under the Real Property Action and Procedures Law, specifically Section 1304. There is an obligation, a statutory obligation on the part of lenders and servicers to serve a 90-day notice. In other words, a notice 90 days or more in advance of filing the summons and complaint. And that notice has to give borrowers a written notice as to housing agencies where you can seek help. Seek help in connection with a default or potential default under the mortgage. And if they don't do it, there are consequences. Now, let's talk about these notices and what they mean to you and what they mean to your case. And why your case may have tremendous defenses, something I call steroidal defenses, and it could lead to a dismissal of the entire action. And when actions are dismissed, other things become possible. So let's talk about the 30-day notice first, the notice to cure. Every mortgage has a provision, every standard Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac mortgage, the typical residential mortgage, has a provision. It's in paragraph 22B3 and B4. And it says that at least 30 days before a lender or servicer accelerates all payments due under the mortgage. In other words, dear borrower, you are in default, you haven't paid a certain amount of money, a certain amount of installments, and therefore we are giving you 30 days. And within that 30-day period, you have to pay an amount. Say it's $15,000, say it's $115,000. If you don't pay it, then we are going to accelerate all balances due under the mortgage. What does accelerate means? The whole shebang. So if we have a mortgage of $400,000 and the outstanding installments at that point are $15,000, the notice may say, pay $15,000 within 30 days, and if you don't pay it, then on the 31st day, you owe the $400,000 plus accrued interest and whatever. And that is a requirement. That is what's called a condition precedent before the summons and complaint can be filed. Condition preceding meaning that if the lender doesn't do it before they file the summons and complaint, if you handle the case right, you can get the case dismissed. If you default, well, then phooey on you because you can't do anything about it. Now, that in and of itself, usually lenders follow it because everybody knows, or at least in the circle of lenders, everybody knows that they must follow that 30-day notice before bringing the action. But then there's another provision, and that's the 90-day notice. And the 90-day notice says, dear borrower, these are the agencies, the housing agencies where you can seek help if you're in default. And we're going to send this to you 90 days prior to the time that we file a complaint. That is statutory. That's also a condition precedent. So if they don't do it, yes, the case can get dismissed. Notably, these are not what's called jurisdictional defenses, which we'll talk about in another video. These are conditions precedent to bring in the case. Now, very often, you may find that there are conflicts between the two notices. So, let's say a 30-day notice is brought, and it says that, dear borrower, you have to pay whatever balance is due, whatever back installments, whatever arrears are due by April 1st. Say that's the 31st day. And if you don't do it, we accelerate payment. And what if afterwards, which is often the case, a lender serves a notice, a 90-day notice, and that 90-day notice again says, dear borrower, you have 90 days to cure your default, and if you don't cure your default, then we're going to bring a lawsuit against you. That's the 1304 notice. Well, if that 1304 notice, in other words, the notice under Real Property Action and Procedures Law 1304, gives a date, and that date once again extends the date to cure, then the lender has effectively de-accelerated payments under the mortgage. So they may have accelerated payments under the mortgage under the notice to cure, and then by serving an additional notice, a so-called 90-day notice, they can de-accelerate the mortgage. Well, what is the impact of that? Well, yes, it is a requirement that a lender has to accelerate payment before bringing the lawsuit, but the bringing of the lawsuit in and of itself can be considered an acceleration of payment. They can't foreclose unless they accelerate payment. But we have that additional provision which says before they accelerate payment, they have to serve a 30-day notice. So here's a tip. Here's a defense. Here's a condition precedent. If the notice to cure, the 30-day notice is served, and afterwards a 90-day notice is served, and that 90-day notice conflicts with the 30-day notice, if you're following that, if you are, you're pretty good, then they have to serve another 30-day notice to comply with paragraph 22B3 and 4 of the standard Fannie-Freddie mortgage. Because if the 90-day notice deaccelerates what the 30-day notice accomplishes, they got a do-over. They have to do it again. And if they don't do it again, your defense is that the lender failed to satisfy a condition precedent, and that in and of itself should give rise to a dismissal of your case, assuming you raise the defense timely in your answer and you don't default and a bunch of other things. So there you go, another technical defense. Statute of limitations may enter into the issue afterwards, maybe yes, maybe no, but there's another technical defense, has nothing to do whether you make payments, don't make payments, and do yourself a favor, don't ignore the papers, raise the defense, and good luck. See you next time.